Liza.
I'm Meredith.
And we're Women on Film. And today we're going to be reviewing Old Boyfriends and Love Rites.
Old Boyfriends came out in 1979 by Jones Tewksbury.
Love Rites came out in 1988 and it's directed by Valerian Borovskik. Do you want to give like a quick overview of Old Boyfriends?
I'll actually read what it says on Google.
Okay.
So, it says, a suicidal psychologist travels the country seeking boyfriends from her past. And I think when we saw it, the description was something more like a girl who wants to like learn who she is and what she's been through. So she seeks out old boyfriends to kind of like reflect on her past.
Yeah.
That
and like in the beginning she's like, I want to learn how to like love myself and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's definitely a different description.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I would have read that one. I would have wanted to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Love Rites is about like a man who meets a sex worker and they end up having this kind of interesting like sadomasochistic like relationship.
Yeah. But it's like cat and mouse-esque in the Act 1.
Yeah.
Before everything else goes down.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just start. Okay.
Oh gee. Okay. What's the plot?
Yeah. Love Rites. Let's start.
Let's start with Love Rites. We haven't even talked about it yet. This is our fresh thoughts. I've been dying to hear what you have to say about it. I can't believe it. So it was under the, what was it? Crime, horror, thrills.
Yeah.
And something section under movie. So we're like, oh, a horror movie that looks kind of, not campy, but has some like really nice aesthetics. That would be nice. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
That's kind of not what it was.
Yeah, I think we both thought it was going to be like a murder, like mystery kind of, where she was going to end up like murdering him at the end.
Yeah.
But it was very different than what we thought it would be. Yeah.
I mean, I guess spoilers. Kinda. But, I mean, at least he didn't die. You're right, I forgot about that. He didn't die. But justice, I suppose, whatever that means. Really weird. I don't know. I don't even know what to make of the ending. I guess we'll talk about the beginning parts first. So the male character sucked.
Yeah.
Probably on purpose. But also, I don't know. Do we know that? Do we know how self-aware this director is trying to be?
I don't know. I feel like, in my mind, I feel like I've just written off the movie as like a bad, like really just bad softcore porn that's ended up being like a comedy.
Funny.
Like it was
really
not
funny.
horrific at all to me.
No.
Like I feel like the reason why we ended up bundling these two movies together is because of like how badly written the female characters were.
Yeah.
When we thought the movies would be like female empowering or whatever.
Yeah, especially for Love Rites. I thought it'd be more like, I thought from the beginning the female lead was gonna be the dominant one. Right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be kind of along that lines.
Yeah. And she ended up being that, but like it was only like towards like the last 5 minutes of the movie where she like really became like the dom in the situation. Yeah. I mean, she was always the dom, but it was like she was definitely making him seem like he had the power in the situation. But like I felt like they overplayed his dom role in the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm thinking the timing was a little off for it to be what maybe they wanted it to be. if they wanted it to be along the lines of like, you know, she had the control the whole time, she was just playing with him, to like ultimately lead up to the final part. But I just feel like the timing was too long with him having a lot of power throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like it made me uncomfortable to watch. Some of the dialogue he said was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like, to a point, it doesn't matter how self-aware a director is or what they're trying to say, but how we interpret it also is important. Mm-hmm. So if we don't interpret, if we watch it and we feel uncomfortable and we don't think some of the stuff is like as self-aware as it should be, then I think we're pretty valid in that critique.
Yeah, I feel like the way the movie is kind of like advertised, or it seems to be advertised, is like she's gonna be like this really like powerful female like dom, and then she's gonna like, I don't know, like turn the tables on him. But I feel like they just only added that as like a sprinkle on top for later. Like I feel like the main
they dusted
thing,
it on top.
They just dusted that on top, but then like the whole thing was just like him like being the dom, which just felt like too male gazy to me, and it felt like like it felt like it was definitely written by a man. It felt like it was very like gratuitous, like sexual scenes, like. I felt like it was just like a really bad porno at the end of the day.
Yeah, a really long, dramatic 80s porno.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
What was that review that you read on Letterboxd?
Oh, it was like the director's version of Before Sunrise.
Because it like features like them meeting on a train, and then follows them walking around the streets of Paris, and then them ultimately like having sex with each other.
Getting together, yeah. It all takes place in a day. Mumblecore.
Yeah, you were like saying that it's like mumblecore, but also, what else did you say it was as well?
Porn?
Yeah, it was just porn. Mumblecore porn.
Porn.
That's
like,
the new movement right
some
there.
Some weird dialogue in there, and like just very fluid conversations. That some things you shouldn't say, and sometimes some things he didn't say. He would say internally, which was like so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, when I feel like the most fucked up things he said, like the main character who like whenever she was talking about how she was like raped. He was like, oh, you should write a book. That's so juicy.
Yeah, oh my god, that's so juicy.
And I was like, wow, this guy's really out of it. Like, he does not get it. And then I can't help but think, like, I feel like the director, in a way, is like an extension of the main male character. So I'm like, is the director, like, into this or something? Because I do feel like the movie is just very much, like, the director's fantasy.
I guess what I could see is kind of like a guy's like animalistic hunter-prey style of approaching a woman that he is attracted to and wants to like have sexual relations with. And he, at the beginning, you know, he from afar like shouts to her and they talk, and then they're sitting, and then he starts touching her. Then they go to the church, and he touches her more. And as time goes by, he, like, not that I think he ever respected her, but he kind of, like, let his mask down even more that he doesn't respect her. And then when they got to the sex room.
The boudoir.
Yeah. He, like, took the mask off completely, and he, like, flipped and was just, like, no more playing around, like, and then all those like things he was saying inside of his head came out, and he started saying the things he was thinking. So it was kind of maybe just like maybe critiquing men, how they really poorly attempt to like advance women to have sex with, and they even him trying. Like, him trying to listen to her talk about her, like, past trauma, he was like, that's so great, make a book. Like, even that was shitty.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like later on he said something about how he was gonna have sex with her like it was his sister.
Yeah, that
which
was
is like
so
kind
weird.
of mirroring her saying that my like brothers like did bad stuff to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, and then says it in a different way towards her, and it's like, oh, he was trying, and now he's like not trying at all. He's just letting all of his like unfiltered, horrible sexual fantasies come out and thoughts. But I mean, someone had to write that character. Mm-hmm. So your theory that it's like a self-extension of a director. Or the, I guess, screenplay, maybe, even?
Yeah. And like, yeah. I feel like with Love Rites and Old Boyfriends, I feel like it's like predominantly made by men who are trying to like create like a powerful female character, but I feel like it kind of falls very short because it ends up just becoming like their fantasy, like just like a really like a very, very like thinly veiled like just porno basically.
Yeah, it's like that. It was like a 2-minute shot where she's like clawing him, and that's it. And she's like, oh, I don't remember what she said. Something about like the worst is yet to come, something around those lines. And then nothing worse came. I mean, I suppose maybe she was foreshadowing his like capture at the end.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like she didn't do that much to him like sexually, but like the worst was yet to come after their exchange. Yeah,
like the paralleling scenes of like him tying her arms behind her back, and then later on in the movie when he's like handcuffed.
That's true.
For like murdering or not murdering that woman.
Yeah. I mean, I guess watching it, there were some parts where I was like, oh, this is pretty smart. Yeah, I see what they're doing there. But overall, maybe it just wasn't that enjoyable to watch. It was funny.
I'd say it just falls short. Like, I feel like I can see where they're trying to go.
Yeah.
They were trying to make it horror, but ended up just being comedy. They were trying to, like, create this, like, powerful, like, female character, but she ended up just being a sex object.
Yeah, they definitely could have reeled it back more.
Yeah.
Because, like, even the scenes, like, where they're always focusing on her legs, and then, like, I think there's, like, one other woman, or even, they focus on that other girl's legs in, like, the window, and then later with the girl coming out of the river, and it's, like, they're all just, like, either naked, or, they're just like exposed or being zoomed in on certain spots in a sexual manner. And it's like, what gives you the right to do that?
I feel like that's like what I've noticed from like a lot of like particularly like old French men directors, and like I feel like they just show like a naked woman and they're like, oh, it's so provocative, it's so like artsy.
It's art.
Like I hate that like when you look up the director for Love Rites, it says that he's a genius who also ends up being like a pornographer. Yeah. Like I feel like he's not like, why do we always call these like grimy old French directors like geniuses when they just make like super like, I don't know, kind of aesthetically pleasing like softcore porn, you know? What do you feel like the parallels are between Old Boyfriends and Love Rites?
Written by men.
Yeah, even though like Old Boyfriends is directed by a woman, so it's interesting. But when we looked further into it, like the production behind it was all men.
Something felt wrong. Watching Old Boyfriends, I was like, something is wrong. Because it was like, we saw that it was female directed, and that made it kind of promising, hopefully. I was still like weary, but I was like, it could be really good.
And the premise was like it was supposed to be like a female protagonist who like is basically reflecting on her previous previous romantic relationships and like trying to learn more about herself through them. But that in itself is kind of like a red flag, because it's like, why is this woman basing her like her progression as a character, as a person, based on like her relationships with men, you know? Which should be a red flag in itself. But it didn't have to be that way. Like,
it didn't.
I feel like they really mishandled that kind of premise.
Yeah. It's just like the main overlap I saw was just two characters, or two even stories that were written by men that like missed the mark on like what was like what could have been good stories. I suppose it was just like very flat. It just watching it, I was like, I don't believe this. This is not believable. Because
ultimately they're not real people. Like they're not like these complex characters. They're these kind of like very one-dimensional like women who are like, I don't know, supposed to be empowered but end up being like overshadowed by the male character, like in Old Boyfriends, where her ex-boyfriend ends up being like the main character of the story, basically, because it follows him more. Yeah.
Hero. Yeah, Old Boyfriend. Just that movie really makes me mad. I don't know. I don't see where they're going at all with that. Love Rites, I can make more sense out of it. Even though I don't think it's great. Old Boyfriends just... What was that?
Yeah, I feel like it was like that end scene where she's like, it's like her talking and she's like, yeah, I went on this journey to like learn more about myself and love myself, but you know, I'm glad that's over. Because basically my ex-boyfriend comes and like stalks me and like ends up like begging to be with me again.
Yeah, and he's gonna forgive me for the harm I've caused, but that I didn't do to him. He'll absolve me of the stuff I've done wrong. I don't need to make amends for the stuff I did wrong.
Yeah, like there's no growth. Like she just ends up kind of like reverting back to like her old self, which I thought was just like, I don't know, I felt like so anticlimactic, you know?
Oh my god, yeah. I was like, that's it?
Yeah.
And I guess, like, this may be a reach, but I'm just trying to make sense out of how she went around telling everyone that her husband killed himself. In reality, she tried killing herself, and like, it's just like, I don't understand why she did that. And it almost feels like the screenwriter was just trying, I don't know, hit that kind of like stereotype where men just like blame women for everything. So it's like she had a lot of complex emotions, obviously. Like, it even in the description it said like a suicidal psychologist. I didn't get any of that. I didn't really know that she was struggling all that much. She never really talked about it.
Yeah, she didn't really talk much about herself.
She projects that onto her husband, and it's like, what? It's like, I'd rather hear more about, like, that side. It's like, who she is, what she's feeling, instead it's like, all they really, like, show hints at that is that, like, oh, my husband killed himself. It's like, what? That's not, like, a man wrote that.
It's all centered on men, exactly. Like, even though there's a female protagonist, it's all centered on men, which I think is another reason why a lot of men who write female characters or like direct like female protagonists end up falling short of like conveying like a complex character.
I don't necessarily feel that a movie is good because I believe it, that it would happen in real life, obviously, but because I'm watching it and I'm so like drawn to reality and like, this is just unbelievable, that's how I know it's not good. You know, because I feel like it was trying to be more realistic with Old Boyfriends and how unrealistic it was in his attempt to be real was just bad. Like, I don't even, there's a lot of plots that I just didn't know what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Especially, like, the end with her, like, old boyfriend's brother. That part gets me so mad.
Yeah, like, there's no, like... I feel like, if anything... I feel like the most interesting part of Old Boyfriends was the scene with, like, her talking to her ex-boyfriend's younger brother, like, his psychologist.
Yes.
And then he's, like, brings up the term, like, transference, and it basically kind of, like, ties in all these reasons why she was, like, I don't know, like, transferring her experiences onto her, like, her husband, her ex-husband's, and, like, why she was, like, mixing up all these characters together. But it just ultimately, like, it made sense, but it felt very, like, messy, and, like, they were trying too hard to be, like, psychological. But it didn't really make sense all that much.
Yeah, it didn't do that at all throughout the movie, and then it hits it with this one plot point, and then it moves on.
Yeah.
Again, where she's like, I'm glad this is over with.
Yeah.
It should have ended there.
I wish they, like, dug more into that. It just felt really rushed, you know?
Because, yeah, she can be a complex character that, like, makes mistakes and does bad things while trying to learn about herself. But the way they did it, where she just ends up with a guy and is like, I'm happy now. Everything's perfect. And I'm ignoring the fact that I did really bad things in the past. You know? It's just wrong. But, yeah, that movie really... I couldn't think straight after it. I was so angry. Yeah. And I woke up in the morning, I was still thinking about it. Because I feel... I mean... Like, we just watched Love Rites. So I feel like I will have more, like, thoughts on it as time goes by. And maybe some good ones. But after I finished Old Boyfriends, I was like, all bad. What the fuck? Everything.
I feel like I can definitively say that I did not like Love Rites at all. Like, I feel like it was just too male-gazy. It was, like, too gratuitous. Like, it just felt like... another Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh my god.
Like, the scene with him kissing her feet, I was like, wow, Quentin Tarantino would love this movie.
Oh my god. His inspiration. Yeah. Yeah. I think we looked at it and it was like, the director was male, the screenwriter was male, like, pretty much most of the cast was male. And it's just, like, what gives them this big-brained idea that they think they can, like, execute this story well? From, like, what perspective do they think they have to offer?
Yeah, I feel like that just goes back to the whole, like, stereotype of, like, men who are French directors who are, like, art, beautiful, like...
Take your clothes off, girl. Gorgeous. But I'm not creepy. But
this is art. This is high art.
The man you're playing against next to is gonna be creepy. I'm not creepy, though. I don't know why you would think I'm creepy. I wrote this. I'm directing it. You look gorgeous, take your clothes off. And it's kind of like the modern day male photographer who only takes women, or pictures of women who, like, are wearing less clothes, more revealing. That's like his main form of photography. That's his art. And it's like, not really. Because there's nothing, like, you're not getting creative with this. You're just using women for your art.
As props.
Yeah, as props.
As props.
Which is what a lot of these movies do.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. And I think, men have a little, like, loophole where if they think or present their film as trying to, oh god, where'd my head go? As trying to be, more like empowering to women, it's like they think they've accomplished it.
Yeah. I feel like any film that kind of makes that the main premise of like trying to be female empowering, I feel like is missing the whole point, because I feel like it's just kind of meant to like, I don't know, it's just such a, I feel like it's important to create like narratives that are female empowering, but if that's the central focus, I feel like it's not enough still.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like a lot of even like movies and TV shows today that try to be female empowering end up creating really one-dimensional female characters who are just supposed to be really tough or just
girl boss.
Yeah, girl bosses. If like the main hook of a movie or like any kind of like film or like TV show is to be like female empowering, then I feel like that in itself is too vague and it doesn't quite meet the mark. Oftentimes, I feel like if that's the main punchline, then I feel like it ends up just still creating like one-dimensional female characters in the end.
Yeah, it's just bare minimum. And a lot of these directors get away with it. And they think they're doing these really deep, meta, like, oh, like, if you try harder, you'll understand what I'm saying. And if you're critiquing me, it's because you didn't understand what I was saying. And it's like, to a point, it's like, no, you're wrong. Like, I'm not gonna just, like, I don't know, if it's not accessible, and then you're, like, think you're creating, like, profound art based off, like the female gaze and stuff like that. It's like, I don't really think you're doing as much as you think you are.
Like when we were looking through movie, we like saw 2 different movies that just like the main, like the thumbnail picture for them was just like a bunch of like naked women, and they're both directed like in the 70s. And I feel like that's like such a like a cheesy thing that a lot of male directors did in like the 70s, and even now it's like they're just like, oh, just add naked women and it's like provocative and like surreal and avant-garde.
Yeah,
it's just
avant-garde. Naked woman, avant-garde. This is awesome. Yeah, and I see where it could, like, it is or was, you know, maybe groundbreaking, but it's just not that, like, it's really not that exciting now. It's like,
I don't think it ever was exciting.
I know. It was probably shocking for people who were a little more, like, conservative with that kind of stuff.
It's definitely provocative, but it's provocative, but it's, like, meaningless.
Yeah.
It's empty.
Yeah. And I think there are movies maybe under this category that hit the mark. This obviously wasn't one of them. And a lot of them aren't it. I guess the moral of this video is, yeah, a lot of men don't know how to write female characters or direct movies about female characters that aren't one-dimensional. Yeah.
And that end up centering the male character anyways.
Yeah.
Because I guess like they can't escape their own experiences.
They don't know
and
how.
And it's more revealing about them than women.
Exactly.
Even though that they're trying to explore like women as like a fully fledged like complex character.
Because all they know about women is through their experiences with them. So that kind of like internal stuff is gonna like be put into these films with like the proximity of these characters to men. I don't really know if there's a way around it. I mean, that's like a pessimistic outtake and not actually probably true. But it's like, you could try harder.
Yeah.
I guess. Damn. Oh, ugh.
That makes me think about a lot of other movies, like, I don't know, it makes me think about the other movie, like Mother, The one that's directed... Not the one directed by Bong Joon-ho,
with
Jennifer
Jennifer
Lawrence.
Lawrence. I haven't seen that.
That one's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it tries to, like, critique the way women are used by men to make art, but then it ends up falling into that trap anyways. And, like... But then, alternatively, like, a film that I feel like that writes, like, a complex female character... It is still centered around a man, but there's this movie called Ruby Sparks. And it's about, like, a screenwriter, person, man.
Oh my god, like, I know it,
yeah, who ends up having, like, a magical typewriter, and he creates, like, his manic pixie dream girl, fantasy woman who comes to life. Basically, it kind of takes, like, a dark turn, and he ends up being able to control her, and, like, it kind of reveals, like, these weird, like these revealing ways that men write like women in scripts, and, like, what it says about them more than the women, and, like, tries to, like...
That's meta.
Got goosebumps. Yeah, right? It's a really good movie. God. Yeah. If you want to watch a movie that doesn't write a woman character terribly, I think Ruby Sparks is a more redeeming movie that kind of counteracts, like, tropes. Have you seen those YouTube videos where, like, it talks about tropes in films, particularly about, like, women? So they talk about, like, femme fatales, or I think it's called The Take. It's, like, this YouTube channel where they, like compare, like, female characters in film. Like, they did one on, like, Manic Pixie Dream Girl. They do stuff on, like the cool girl trope, or, like, stuff like that. I think it's really interesting to think about. And I like that, this awareness of, like, how female characters is being more critiqued, more mainstream critiqued. Because I feel like for the time, like, the 80s and 70s when these films were made, it was, like, really shocking to have, like, a female character who wasn't, like, this, I don't know, very, like, one-dimensional, even though they still end up being one-dimensional, but, like...
Yeah,
in a different way. It just ends up being one-dimensional in a totally different way. Yeah.
Well, I guess let us know what you guys, like, think about the subject. Like, maybe you have, like, a completely differing opinion than us. But I would be curious to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm also curious if any of y'all have seen a movie with a complex female character, and also if y'all have more examples of just badly written female characters and, like, what you've noticed, like, the trends of what makes a character complex versus not complex. I feel like a very real part of the way we perceive ourselves is based on the way others perceive us.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes I have, like, I can't speak for you, but, like sometimes, like, I find myself, like, like, the way I'm trying to present myself, like, true to myself, or is it more trying to fit the mold of this really, like, tropey female character in a movie? Which sounds so cringy, and I hate that, but it's honestly true sometimes.
That got
like,
me thinking.
How do we form our identity? We form our identity based on the media that we consume.
Yeah, that is true. And maybe that's why even sometimes I or other people may watch movies with really one-dimensional characters and still find ways that we connect to them. But, like, ultimately, that character isn't, like, complex, you know? Obviously, you can see elements that you relate to, but it's not gonna be, like, I don't know. It's not gonna be really completed. So maybe, you know, there's, I don't know. You know, sometimes a character can say, like, one quote and you're like, oh, I relate to that. That doesn't mean that character's good, or that that character is well written. So that got me thinking about that, especially. Maybe it will make me, like, watch more critically character development and how they're written. Thanks.
It's a good note.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for watching.
And I guess maybe if I think of some movies that I think did a good job at like really complex female characters, I'll comment them down below. Maybe we'll come up with a list, and maybe you guys can like add some more, or maybe be like, no, I don't think that one's it. But
okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I can say for sure these movies weren't really it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, guys.